For all intents and purposes, good morning, YG. Um, this could be right after sunset. You can tell that the day is done and the lights are up and so forth. It could very well be sunset. Um, that's kind of the way that this time of day presents itself. And for many people, they can't tell whether right now is 8:40 or 8:50 or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. You just look at the surroundings and the lights up. But there comes a point in the evening when, after sunset, after the sun has gone down, after the darkest portion of the evening, that you get a sense that sunrise is just around the corner. And I kind of gave it away already because I said good morning, YG, already. But yeah, you can begin to tell that the darkness is beginning to break and sunrise is just around the corner. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me on my gratitude walk this early morning. I have a variety of routes that I can take during my gratitude walk, and depending on what time of day it is, because during certain portions of the day, it is pretty crowded in this area. This parking lot will be bustling with people coming in and out of the various shops here in one of the strip malls here in Burleson, Texas. Lots of traffic, which makes it not as ideally the safest place to be walking. So I try not to go here during the busiest bustling times. But early in the morning, it has a really great, almost movie set feel. Well, there is this anticipation that people will be arriving. There will be activity and bustling happening here. So thank you for a moment. I'm going to hide in this little corner because we got a bit of wind shear, but I want to share with you my thoughts and my gratitude this morning. There are times in our life. I was listening recently to one of my pastor mentors, and they were thanking God as a reflection in Scripture for sunrises and sunsets. So this may seem as a reprise to some of you if you've been following me fairly seriously. There's sunrises and sunsets. That means there are beginnings and there are ends. Now, for us, we think we can maneuver those beginnings and ends. And for some of us, we've experienced a little bit of that in regards to human technology. We've been in an airplane right at dusk and have watched that sundown linger because of our efforts to keep up with it, or us being in an airplane that's keeping up a little while with the going down of the sun. We've tried, I think, at times to think that we have a capability to navigate our time by trying to put more into it, try to be more effective, try to optimize our time. But inevitably, the one who sets the sunrise and the sunset is God. And with that faithfulness, God does that in powerfully consistent ways. We set our clocks to it now. We do strange things like daylight savings time now, because we have that caveat of knowing the steadiness of God's order in the universe. Hey, Jackie, good morning. Thank you for joining me on my gratitude walk. And as my pastor mentor was reflecting on God's faithfulness and his character being consistent to provide us both sunrise and sunset, I had to reflect a little bit more, shall we say, philosophically on that. For some of us, it's hard to come to the end of an era, end of a chapter, end of the day. For some of us, endings are terrifying. Endings are grief-producing. And so when the sun goes down and the day is done and that era has completed itself, many of us are tempted to despair. In fact, for some of us, as we get closer to those hours where the darkness seems the thickest, it's hard to imagine anything worse than what some theologians call the dark night of the soul. A place where we are stricken with grief, or we're filled with doubt, or we're sideswiped by despair. But I want to offer this encouragement because we know God's faithfulness. We know that when things come to an end, when there is a closing to a chapter, when there is this reality that things have come to this final change, that even in the midst of the deepest, darkest portion of the night, the sunrise is just around the corner. So I want to share with you that we're not the only ones that have experienced it. In fact, it's not only humans that have experienced this. The Son of God experienced this on our behalf. He knew the stories and the prophecies. He knew his redemptive role as rescuer of people kind. Yet in the most darkest portion of the night, he also experienced the dark night of the soul, the place where he, in his humanness, said, Lord, if there's a way to forego this darkness, to not come to this particular end, show it. But I know that whatever happens, I want to submit to your will. I know that whatever I am feeling in this moment, that you are bigger than my current emotions. And so my point being here is that some of us have gone through very difficult times where we felt horribly isolated and terribly, terribly lonely. Now, it's hard. Some of us have been hit so hard by grief that it's become visceral. Our grief has literally caused us not only emotional pain, but we can feel it in our bones. I want to ensure you, and I want to encourage you, and maybe it would have been better for me to just have been silent during this time, to just sit alongside you during this difficult time. But I want to offer you this bit of hope in the midst of your suffering. That just around the corner is sunrise. And so, although you might not have been able to tell what time of day it is from my initial shots here in the parking lot, it looked like nighttime, didn't it? But I want to encourage you that just around the corner is sunrise. You can feel it. You can see the darkness dissipating. You can begin to understand and know that there is daylight ahead. There's also wind shear, so I'm going to try to protect it. There's also Chick-fil-A. So just know that Chick-fil-A is just around the corner here. And they are already busy. People pulling up and getting their Chick-fil-A. So today, as you head into the day, as you meet the challenges that surround you, I pray that you'll discover that God is faithful. God knows what he's doing. God has not given up charge of the world. He's not decided to take a vacation from his care over you and your condition, your circumstance. That even though you may be going through a difficult time, God is there with you. And he promises, and he's good on his promises, that sunrise is just around the corner. Hey, be safe and well wherever you are. Have a tremendous day. And remember, be Jesus, be RG. Bye, guys.